What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be another very important day as we have CPI data coming out, and it's going to affect the market moving forward. I'm also going to talk about a bullish catalyst for NIO that's coming out as they've announced their new product, and it's going to be very, very important for the sub brand because this is going to give them a lot more competition and give them a bigger advantage moving forward. So I'm going to break down more details about NIO in the markets. Let me first mention that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If we sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks. And offer ends very soon, excuse me, in just about 14 days. Anyways, for NIO, we got another breakout to the upside of 7%. I mentioned to everyone that NIO had more upside potential as we're approaching this big data. We had PPI data come out, and despite that, with the Envo announcement, NIO continued to hold up. We also saw SPY, the QQQ, and the markets continue to rally. But whether this continues or not will be dependent on CPI and what reaction we get. So I'm going to break down more details about that. So for today, as a reminder, we just had PPI data come out. The data was not very good. The market actually dipped a little bit, but then got bought back up. Then Jerome Powell gave his speech, and most of what he said was bullish for the markets about how the Fed has everything under control. He's confident inflation will drop. And he said that there's a lot of progress that has been made, and the Fed is going to continue to do what's necessary. So he made it very clear that he's confident that the Fed will do their job. The market loved it. And as a result, the market was trading sideways for a bit, then finally started to push towards the end of the day. Now, whether or not the market continues to push is going to be dependent on very important data for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have the CPI report coming out. We have CPI month over month being released. We're expecting this to be 0.3%. For core CPI year over year, we want this to be around 3.6 to 3.7%. And then for all items CPI, I want this to be around 0.4%, with year over year being around 3.4 to 3.5%. So everything's expected to be the same as before, if not a little bit lower. We're expecting a slight little decrease, so we'll have to see if we end up getting decent numbers or not. But overall, looking at the inflationary numbers, things are looking quite interesting because year over year, PPI was actually a little bit close to expectations. There's a good chance that we might see something very similar for CPI, but I am a little bit concerned about the month over month data. The PPI numbers were pretty hot, so we'll see if we end up getting the same thing for CPI month over month. Now, when it comes to other things worth noting, don't forget that for earnings, we just had NIO announce their earnings. The share price is currently up just a bit because they ended up announcing the fact that they had not only good earnings, good growth, but also decent guidance overall. So I'll break down more details about this later on. But for now, the revenue is up about 69%. That's why it ended up pushing upwards. But for CPI, going back to that, I just want to mention that we've been seeing all items kind of increasing a little bit. Also, all items without food and energy has been stagnant. We'll see if this ends up continuing as time progresses. If we look at the last CPI reports, they were a little bit on the hotter end. And as we approach summer, they do tend to be hot. But one thing that's a little bit positive, at least for CPI, because you have to remember that the data is very manipulated, is the national average gas prices have actually gone down relative to a month ago. So the current average is about $3.61. 1 month ago, they were about $3.63. So that's a little bit of a change. Mid grade is also about the same, a little bit lower, and everything else is very close, if not slightly lower compared to before, at least based off the data. So when the data shows that, this could be a reason for them to try to kind of manipulate the numbers, especially when you look at the current data right here. Crude futures actually dipped just a little bit for the month. They went down just a little bit. So with that happening, that does suggest that we might not get as bad of a CPI. But what's more important is month over month. So we'll see how things end up looking. Not going to promise anything just solely based off this, but we'll just have to wait and see. The fear and greed index is currently approaching greed as we're seeing more buyers stepping in, and greed is making up the majority of our momentum. Right over here, the puts and call positioning is dipping as we're seeing puts being closed and calls being bought. The buyers are back. The market is pushing as a result of that. And the VIX is once again has a big gap to fill below, so it's not done and it's not officially breaking out yet. So we'll have to wait and see how things go as CPI is going to affect us. Now, although CPI is one big factor, NIO's Envo's first official images have shown the L60's light. It's actually very, very interesting. So we're going to be looking at this coming out very soon. Basically, they're going to be launching their sub brand. This is the Envo sub brand. With that coming out, this is very bullish for NIO because it's going to give them a lot more of a competitive advantage over other companies out there. They're going to be starting at about $34,000. They also mentioned they rolled out their 50,000th mass-produced vehicle, which is very bullish, and that is great news for them. And with the sub brand, these EVs are going to be a lot more affordable. So that's actually great news for them as well with low energy consumption. We also had Chinese registrations come out. NIO's numbers were not bad. We had Tesla with about 9,800 at least for the week, with NIO's at 4,400, which is not bad. And then BYDs were also the strongest. So that's something worth noting with the growth that we are seeing. And Tesla's once again seen some nice growth too. But I just want to note that NIO had some pretty good numbers if we actually look at them right here. NIO saw a nice amount of growth month over month. And you guys can see their EV sales have increased again. We're actually seeing a nice push compared to the last couple of weeks early on this year. So when the year started, we had low numbers, and ever since the last few weeks, they've been going up. So nice increases for NIO. There's also some news coming out that NIO was being selected for the 2024 Fortune China ESG Impact List, and it's going to play a leading role in the ESG field. So that's good news for them for sustainable development. On top of this, there's also some more talk that's coming out about their volume at about 80 million. We're up 7% thanks to that. So that's some good news for NIO. And then last but not least, the last thing worth noting is the fact that Macquarie still gave them a neutral rating, but the price-price ratio is going up because NIO is gaining some strength relative to the markets. We tend to see more volatility at 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and also during the final hour of the day. So NIO has some advantages right over here. What do I see for the share price moving forward? Honestly, guys, CPI will affect us to some extent. If CPI is hot, that could lead to some downwards pressure. And if CPI is decent, that could actually help the markets. But as far as technicals go, and based off the fact that NIO has a big launch for their sub brand, the share price looks bullish to me. And I think that there's a very good chance that this is going to try to push higher and try to push that $6 area. So the chart looks very bullish to me. I wouldn't be surprised if NIO kind of retest 5.75 and starts pushing up for $6. And I think that that's going to be our target for tomorrow. So I am more bullish on NIO, and I do anticipate more upside as a strong possibility. As for Tesla, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. We also broke past this white trend line. If I zoom out of the chart, if I zoom out of the chart and show you guys, we have resistance at this white trend line. We've broken through that, and we're now trying to fill this imbalance up here. So Tesla is looking more bullish. It looks like it may try to push for 182. For SPY to me is also looking more bullish, technically speaking, but we hit 524. If we break through this, the all-time high is coming. 525, we break that as well, and we're going to just continue to fly. If we end up losing 521.5, depending on CPI, we're going to sink. So it all depends on CPI. As of right now, the chart is looking a bit more bullish, but it depends on CPI, so we'll just have to wait and see. Nothing is guaranteed. This could always be a trap, but from a technical standpoint, we do look more bullish. We could push a little higher. For the QQQ, we also look more bullish. We break past 446, basically going to 448 and 450. If we lose 444, our 20 EMA, we're going to be looking for a dip. Overall, we're looking more bullish, so let's hope that this continues to push higher. I would say that this looks more bullish overall, so we'll just give this some time. For Nvda, this is also looking like it wants to break out towards 920 because we have a nice accumulation structure. We've broken through our resistance at 908, and this imbalance might try to attract it all the way up to about 920. So the chart looks more bullish, in my opinion. It favors the upside. So we'll just have to see if that ends up being the case. So it looks like it wants to go up to at least 920, but just to be safe, we'll wait and see. We also have earnings coming out within a couple of weeks. So that's going to be important too. For Aapl, we were looking bullish. We're just continuing to climb. There's no sign of this rejecting. So look for 188 as resistance. If we break this, look for 189.3, then 190. The chart is also looking more bullish to me. So, guys, the charts look more bullish from a technical standpoint. Whether this continues or not depends on different factors. As far as AMC goes, I know a lot of people are interested in this. We're on a big rejection right here. CPI may affect it to some extent, but I do want to note that there is a risk of it coming to its 50 EMA, so a little bit more of a dip. And then for GME, it's the same thing. We're going to be looking for a little rebound on GME, an attempt to get back to 60, maybe a rejection. But let me just note that a lot of the momentum was hurt by the halts. The halts made things very difficult, so that may slow things down. But nonetheless, guys, NIO is looking bullish. I'm looking for a little dip in the morning, followed by $6 or even higher than that. If we break 6, we could be going all the way up to 6.25. The chart looks bullish, so look for more potential upside. I think that NIO has definitely more potential moving forward. With that being said, that's it for the video. Thank you for listening. We'll see what happens with CPI. It's going to be a big day, not to mention their big launch tomorrow. So it's going to be a big day. I can't wait to see what the future holds, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, and peace out.